Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive.
Oh, this will be a good one.
It will. This time we're tackling Darius Foroux's Think Straight.
Yeah, this one's all about, like,
Practical thinking.
totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Not just thinking, but thinking straight.
Exactly. And we're going to be diving into the book itself.
Oh, yeah, using the excerpts you sent over?
Right. I mean, ever feel like your brain's just a runaway train?
Oh, all the time.
This book is all about, like, getting back in control,
Yeah, and what I find interesting is
What's that?
Forough doesn't act like he's got all the answers.
Right.
Like, he's really open about this just being what worked for him.
I like that. Very honest.
Totally. And he starts with this idea that,
We can choose our thoughts.
yeah, like we're not just stuck with whatever pops into our heads.
He kicks it off with William James, right?
Yeah, the psychology guy.
Who struggled with depression.
Seriously bad depression, like,
He even considered suicide.
for months.
Yeah, it was really rough.
But then...
He had like a breakthrough.
Totally. He realized we're not just victims of our own minds.
Right.
We have the power to choose which thoughts we focus on.
So how do we do that?
That's where Forough brings in this idea of,
Practical thinking.
yeah, he compares the brain to like a tool.
Powerful but limited.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about all these cognitive biases.
Which are?
Like mental shortcuts.
Okay.
They're useful sometimes, but
But they can mess us up.
totally. So that they can lead us to making decisions.
That aren't in our best interest.
Exactly.
Like confirmation bias.
Oh, yeah.
Where you only look for information that confirms what you already believe.
Even if it's not true.
Have you ever noticed yourself doing that?
All the time. It's so easy to fall into that trap.
Forough actually tells a story to show how powerful shifting your thinking can be.
Oh, yeah, the one about the apartment hunt in London.
Yeah, what happened?
So he was moving,
Okay.
and everything was going smoothly.
Oh, too.
His landlady backed out at the last minute.
Oh, no.
He was totally stuck. Van full of stuff, nowhere to go.
That's so stressful.
Right, but instead of panicking,
What did he do?
he focused on solutions.
Like what?
He booked an Airbnb, took a breath, and you know what?
What?
He ended up getting the apartment anyway.
Wow. So
Right.
even in chaos, you can
Shift your mindset.
to be more solution-oriented.
Exactly.
That reminds me of something Forough calls heuristics.
Heuristics.
Yeah, they're like these mental shortcuts we use to filter information, relying on trial and error,
Okay.
or using social proof.
So like if everyone's buying something,
You assume it must be good.
yeah, but it might not be.
Exactly. Heuristics can be helpful, but
But we can't always rely on them.
we got to be aware of them.
For sure.
Okay, so that leads us to controlling our thoughts.
Which Forough talks about a lot.
He talks about useful versus useless thoughts.
Right. So like
Yeah, what are those?
useful thoughts are things that,
We'll move forward.
yeah, like problem solving or learning new things,
Okay, so useless thoughts would be,
like dwelling on the past or worrying about the future.
those don't really help us, do they?
Nope, not at all.
So it's almost like training your brain
To be spam filter.
to get rid of the junk thoughts.
Exactly.
But even then, Forough warns us, don't completely trust your mind.
Yeah, because those cognitive biases can still sneak in.
Even when we're trying to be rational.
Exactly. They can influence our decisions without us even realizing it.
So it's not enough to just think positive thoughts.
Nope, we got to be aware of our blind spots.
Right, so we can make more informed choices.
Exactly.
This is making me think about all those times I reacted impulsively
Oh, yeah.
and then instantly regretted it.
I've been there.
Do you think quick thinking is always a good thing?
Forough actually challenges that assumption.
Oh, really?
He used to think quick thinking meant you were intelligent.
I used to fuck that too.
But then he discovered the power of
What's it called?
slow thinking.
Slow thinking.
Yeah, it's not about being slow-witted or anything. It's about being deliberate.
So taking your time.
Yeah, and really processing information before you react.
Instead of just firing off a hasty email.
Or saying something you'll regret.
Yeah, I've definitely done that before.
We all have.
Yeah.
So slow thinking is about
Taking a pause
considering different perspectives.
and then responding thoughtfully.
Exactly.
That's such a good point. Sometimes I feel like I need to have an answer right away.
It's like we're programmed for instant responses.
Yeah, but sometimes that just leads to more problems.
Totally. Slow thinking can really help with that.
Okay, I'm convinced.
So-
Slow thinking is good.
Right.
But you know what else Forough suggests?
What's that?
Drawing your thoughts.
It sounds kind of strange,
I know.
but it's actually really interesting. He talks about Leonardo da Vinci,
Oh,
who
wow.
used to sketch out his ideas
So, like,
to tap into a different kind of creativity.
so you don't have to be like a master artist.
No.
Stick figures count.
Exactly. It's about getting those thoughts out of your head.
And onto paper.
Yeah. It can help you see things in a new way.
I'm intrigued. I might have to try that.
You should.
And speaking of trying new things, Forough really emphasizes self-knowledge.
Oh, yeah. Knowing yourself.
Your strengths, values, motivations.
It's so important for making good decisions.
I feel like that's a lifelong process, though.
It is. It's not something you figure out once and you're done.
Right.
It's about constantly reflecting and learning from your experiences.
He tells a story about a relationship that ended because of differing values.
Oh, yeah, that was a tough one.
It sounds like he learned a lot from that experience
For sure. Sometimes you got to go through those hard things.
to really understand yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about choosing our thoughts, being aware of biases.
Slow thinking, drawing, self-knowledge.
It's a lot
It is. But it all ties back to that core idea.
of thinking straight.
Yeah. It's about using your mind in a way.
That helps you live a better life.
Exactly. And speaking of living a better life.
What about money?
Oh, yeah. Forough has some simple rules for that, too.
Like what?
Make money, spend less than you make, invest the rest,
Okay.
get out of debt, and build skills.
I like the emphasis on building skills.
Yeah, it's not just about accumulating wealth.
It's about investing in yourself.
Exactly. So you can have more options and opportunities.
So thinking straight isn't just about finances,
No, it's about a whole approach to life
about making choices that are aligned with your values.
and taking action.
Forough argues that overthinking can be paralyzing.
It's true. Sometimes you just got to do something.
He even talks about his exercise routine.
Oh, yeah, the one where he just does it.
30 minutes every day, no excuses.
Yeah. He created a system to bypass overthinking.
That's a great idea.
Right. So instead of agonizing over when and how to work out.
He just does it.
Exactly.
I think we can all learn something from that.
I know I can.
So maybe we should all think about
One area where we tend to overthink.
and create a system to streamline it.
Totally. It could make a huge difference.
I love that idea.
It's about taking control.
And making things happen.
Exactly.
You know, this is making me realize Forough is all about challenging conventional thinking.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't like those pros and cons lists.
Right. They limit us to just this or that choices.
Exactly. He wants us to consider more possibilities.
Like, what if?
What if you could have both?
He uses the example of starting a business,
People think you have to quit your job.
but maybe you don't.
Right. It's about challenging those assumptions.
And finding creative solutions.
Exactly.
I love how he puts it. The prize in the maze might actually be outside the maze.
I know. We get so caught up in the rules.
We forget to look beyond them
It's about stepping back.
and seeing the bigger picture.
Totally.
Okay, so we've talked about questioning assumptions.
And simplifying our lives.
But Forough also stresses the importance of details,
Especially when you're creating something meaningful.
like writing his book.
Yeah, he spent so much time on the research, writing, editing.
Even the title.
He agonized over that.
He almost went with the power of pragmatic thinking.
Can you imagine?
That's so boring.
I know. It's amazing how those little choices.
Can make such a big difference.
Totally.
So it's not just about the big ideas.
No, it's about the details, too.
It's about putting in the effort.
And making sure everything is just right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because
Right.
even though Forough is all about thinking,
He also encourages us to stop thinking so much. Sometimes the best ideas come when you're not trying so hard,
like in the shower.
or when you're taking a walk.
Exactly. It's about creating space for those aha moments.
But how do you actually do that?
It's different for everyone.
Right.
Some people meditate. Some people listen to music.
Some people just need to get outside
Totally.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you
to quiet your mind.
and allow yourself to relax.
That's so important. We live in such a go, go, go world.
It's true. We're always on.
So taking time to disconnect,
And recharge.
that's essential. You know, this is making me think about all the times I get stuck in the past.
Oh, yeah. The regrets.
Forough actually tells a story about his grandmother.
Who spent her later years dwelling on her
It's
sacrifices.
so sad.
It is. But it's also a reminder.
To live life to the fullest.
Yeah. Don't waste time on things you can't change.
Focus on the present moment.
And make the most of it.
So how do we avoid those regrets?
By living in the now.
Not dwelling on the past or worrying about the future.
Easier said than done.
It is, but it's possible.
I like how Forough emphasizes learning from our experiences.
But not letting them define us.
So it's about growth and moving forward.
Okay, so we've talked about controlling our thoughts, being aware of biases,
Slow thinking, drawing, self-knowledge.
Simplifying our lives,
Yeah.
questioning assumptions.
It's a lot to take in,
It is. But it all comes back to this idea
of thinking straight
using our minds to create a better life.
for ourselves and for the world.
Exactly.
This has been a really interesting conversation,
I agree. We've covered so much ground already.
and we're just getting started.
I know. There's so much more to explore in Think Straight.
I'm excited to keep going.
Me too.
Welcome back.
It's great to be back.
So last time we were talking about,
William James and Charles Pierce.
yeah, James giving Pierce credit for pragmatism, even though Pierce's career was, well,
Not doing so great.
yeah, it was a really nice thing for James to do.
It was. And it got me thinking about
About what?
legacy, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what will we leave behind? What impact will our thoughts and actions have?
Those are big questions.
They are.
And it kind of brings us back to this idea of inner calm,
Which Foroux seems to think is
like the ultimate prize in life.
no matter what's going on around you,
Your mind can stay.
steady,
Totally, yeah.
grounded.
But how do you actually achieve that?
It sounds kind of hard.
Yeah, like it takes years of meditation and
Foroux actually says it's not about that.
not about meditation.
Not really, no. He says
Uh-huh.
it's about being aware of your thoughts.
And choosing to let go of the ones that don't serve you.
So the ones that are causing you stress or anxiety or...
Exactly. The ones that are holding you back.
I can see that.
He actually says he meditates all the time.
Really?
Yeah, like while he's walking, exercising, even waiting in line,
So it's about finding those moments throughout the day
to just be present.
and quiet your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so hard, though. Especially with,
All the distractions.
yeah, like our phones and the internet and everything.
It's like we're constantly bombarded with information.
It can be overwhelming.
It totally can. But Forough reminds us that we have a choice.
We can choose how we respond to those distractions,
We can choose to create space for stillness and reflection.
even in the midst of chaos.
Exactly. And that all comes back to that core idea. Think straight.
Not just thinking, but thinking in a way that's clear and focused.
And that leads to action.
Right, because what's the point of thinking if it doesn't lead to something?
Totally.
It's been amazing to revisit all these ideas from the book,
I know. We've covered so much.
from choosing our thoughts to the importance of systems.
Self-knowledge, drawing out ideas. It's incredible.
And it all ties back to living a better life.
Yeah, creating a life that you love.
And Forough doesn't shy away from the hard parts of life either.
Like what?
He talks about loss and grief.
Oh yeah, losing his father.
When he was young,
He talks about how important it is to process those emotions.
instead of trying to ignore them,
Exactly.
mm,
Because grief doesn't just go away,
it stays with you.
but you learn to integrate it into your life.
And find ways to honor the person you lost.
I think a lot of people struggle with that.
It's hard to know how to move forward.
He emphasizes that it's not about forgetting.
Or pretending the loss didn't happen,
It's about finding ways to keep their memory alive.
while still living your own life to the fullest.
It's a delicate balance.
It is, but I think Forough offers some really helpful insights.
Yeah, and he ties it back to thinking straight.
How so?
He says it's not about suppressing emotions
It's about acknowledging them.
and choosing how you want to respond to them.
So taking control of your emotional response.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And he also talks about having a purpose in life
Something that gives you meaning.
beyond just your own happiness.
That reminds me of that quote from the book
Which one?
about the greatest use of life being to spend it on something that will outlast it.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one. So what will your legacy be?
Wow.
It's a big question.
It is.
What kind of impact do you want to have on the world?
What will you create that will continue to ripple outwards long after you're gone? These are big questions. I don't know if I have the answers.
That's okay. It's not about having all the answers.
Just about asking the right questions.
Exactly. And being open to the possibilities.
So how do we even begin to find our purpose?
Forough doesn't really give a step-by-step guide.
Figures it's not that simple.
He says it's often something you cultivate through your actions and choices.
Okay, so it's not something you just find.
Not necessarily. Not.
It's something you create.
Yeah, through the things you do and the decisions you make.
So like exploring your interests, experimenting, following your curiosity.
Exactly. It's not always a sudden epiphany
Sometimes it's a gradual process.
of discovering what truly lights you up.
Makes sense.
And he also talks about being open to new experiences.
New perspectives.
The more you expose yourself to different ideas and ways of thinking,
The more likely you are to find something that resonates with you.
totally. It's about being a lifelong learner.
Constantly seeking out new knowledge and challenges.
Yeah, never stop learning.
I love that. But I imagine even when you find your purpose,
Things aren't always easy.
right, life still throws curveballs.
Foroux acknowledges that.
He says there will still be challenges and setbacks.
But having a clear sense of why you're doing what you're doing,
Can give you the strength to keep going.
it's like a guiding light in the darkness.
And that ties back to inner calm,
Right, even when things are tough,
knowing you're living a life aligned with your values.
can bring a sense of peace and purpose.
And that leads us to another important concept from the book, the power of now.
Oh yeah, living in the present moment,
Foroux talks about how easy it is to get caught up in the past.
or worry about the future. But the only moment we truly have control over is the present.
He even says he hardly ever looks at old photos.
He's all about being present.
So does that mean we should just ignore the past?
Not necessarily. He says it's more about recognizing that dwelling on things we can't control doesn't serve us.
It just creates more stress and anxiety.
Yeah, so instead of dwelling on the past,
We should focus our energy on making the most of the present moment.
and that brings us back to letting go of useless thoughts.
Right. If a thought isn't helping you right now,
Let it go.
it's not worth your time and energy.
Exactly. And that leads us to another important point, taking action.
Because what's the point of all this thinking?
If it doesn't lead to something.
Foroux argues that knowledge without action is useless.
He says the greatest ideas are worthless if you don't act on them.
So how do we bridge that gap between thinking and doing?
He suggests starting small.
Okay.
Pick one thing you want to accomplish.
Just one thing?
Yeah, and break it down into manageable steps.
Don't get bogged down in planning or overthinking.
Just take that first step.
It's like that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly. And once you take that first step,
Keep going.
be consistent, even if it's just small steps every day.
It all adds up over time.
It does.
So we've talked about finding your purpose, living in the present moment.
Taking action.
What else does Forough have to say about creating a meaningful life?
He talks a lot about relationships.
Oh, yeah, those are important.
He argues that strong relationships are essential for happiness and success.
I can see that.
We're social creatures, we need connection,
But it can be hard to maintain those connections.
especially in our busy lives.
Everyone's so busy these days.
It's true, but Forough emphasizes the importance of making time for the people who matter most,
So like scheduling regular phone calls or video chats,
if they live far away,
or making an effort to connect in person.
if they live close by.
Those are great tips.
It all comes back to being intentional with your time.
If you truly value those relationships,
You'll make time for them.
and that leads us to another important point,
What's that?
giving back to others.
Oh yeah, Forough talks about that too.
Whether it's volunteering your time or donating to a cause you care about,
Finding ways to make a positive impact on the world.
it can bring a deep sense of purpose and fulfillment.
It's about something bigger than yourself.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
What's that?
Thinking straight isn't just about being smart or efficient,
It's about using your mind to create a life that's meaningful and fulfilling.
and connected to something larger than yourself.
Exactly. And that's a great place to pause for now.
Okay.
We'll pick up the conversation in part 3.
Where we'll explore even more of Forough's insights from Think Straight.
I can't wait.
All right, we're back. Ready to wrap up our deep dive into Think Straight.
I am. I feel like we've uncovered so many great insights already.
I know, it's been a really thought-provoking journey so far. Where do we even pick up from here?
Well, one thing that stuck with me is how Forough really stresses questioning everything.
Questioning everything.
Yeah, he doesn't want us to just blindly accept things, even his own ideas.
Huh. That's pretty different from a lot of self-help stuff out there.
It is. He actually says, if you blindly follow my advice, you're already doing it wrong.
Wow. Okay, so he really wants us to think for ourselves, not just take his word as gospel.
Right. He wants us to engage with the material, think critically, challenge assumptions,
Even our own deeply held beliefs.
especially those. It's about examining those things we take for granted.
I can see how that would be valuable, but
But what?
it sounds like a lot of work questioning everything.
It is work, for sure. But that's Forough's point. Thinking straight is a practice.
So it's not a one-time thing. You're not suddenly fixed.
Exactly. It's an ongoing process. Requires effort, attention,
But I imagine the rewards are worth it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Forough argues that the more you practice thinking straight, the more clarity and control you gain in life.
So better decisions, increased productivity, that kind of thing.
All of that and more. It leads to a deeper sense of purpose, too.
Okay, so it's not just thinking differently, it's about actually living differently.
Exactly. And a big part of that, at least for Forough, is simplicity.
Simplifying your life.
Totally. Decluttering, both physically and mentally.
I can get behind that. I'm all about minimizing the chaos.
He's a big believer in cutting out distractions, setting boundaries, really honing in on your key priorities.
Being intentional, basically.
Yes. Choosing what to focus on and letting go of the rest.
Easier said than done these days.
Tell me about it. But Forough has some good advice about creating systems and routines.
To automate the little things.
Exactly. Streamline your day, reduce decision fatigue.
So you can save your mental energy for the stuff that matters.
Precisely.
This is all great stuff. Anything else that stood out to you as being key to thinking straight?
Oh, there's one more big one. Taking care of your physical health.
Mind and body connection, all that.
Exactly. He argues they're totally interconnected.
Yeah, when I'm feeling run down, my thinking definitely suffers.
He's all about sleep, healthy diet, regular exercise.
The basics.
But sometimes we forget the basics, you know?
It's true. We try to outsmart our biology.
He even shares his own workout routine in the book. Super simple, just something he enjoys, does it consistently.
So it's not about punishing yourself at the gym.
Not at all. It's about finding something sustainable that you can stick with.
Because it all feeds back into your ability to think straight.
Right. It's about having the energy, the focus to actually live the life you want.
I'm really liking this holistic approach to thinking. It's not just about being a brainiac.
It's about the whole package: mind, body, habits, choices.
And Forough has one final reminder, which I think is important.
It's that.
Thinking straight isn't about achieving perfection.
Oh, that's so crucial.
It's about progress, not perfection. It's so easy to get discouraged when you slip up, or make a mistake, or just have a bad day.
Totally. But those are learning opportunities. He's all about celebrating the successes, but learning from the failures too.
So it's about embracing the whole journey.
Yes.
Yes.
Continuous improvement. Being kind to yourself along the way.
That's a message I think we all need to hear sometimes.
Definitely. It's something I'm going to be reminding myself of for sure.
This has been a fantastic deep dive.
I agree. Really insightful.
It's given me so much to think about, and I don't just mean in the abstract sense.
Right. It's about taking these ideas and actually applying them to our lives.
I'm already feeling inspired to make some changes.
That's what it's all about.
Big thanks to everyone for joining us on this exploration of Think Straight. Hope you found it as valuable as we did.
Absolutely. Keep those minds sharp, everyone.
Until next time.